As I learn about flat earthers, I also learn how naive I've been. I'm starting to really understand that modern flat earth belief has features of a dangerous cult. No, it doesn't have a centralized authority, or any formal structure at all, really. However, it often does claim false divinity, imprison the mind, villainize outsiders, and separate families. I want to focus especially on that first one, false divinity, because that's at once both the source of the problem and its most evil consequence. So how does Flat Earth claim false divinity? This is subtle, so pay close attention. It starts with one big assumption that even Wikipedia makes, that ancient people held this belief.
Could it be there's an ancient philosophy that's infiltrating?
Here's how I explained this in a debate recently. Flat Earthers say their belief is the default, similar to ancient cultures, and that belief in a globe is the anomaly. This is a lie because of one simple question of cosmology. Where does the sun go at night? In general, ancient cultures believed it either went under the earth or outside the firmament to somewhere unknown. This means they assumed the whole world had one universal time of day or night. In the age of time zones, modern flat earthers try to resurrect flat earth by saying that at night the sun gets too far away to see. As we'll soon see, this claim not only separates their model from ancient ones, but also violates basic observational science. It traces back to a 19th century misfit named Samuel Robotham, and for that reason I call it Robothanism. In fact, I did my best to survey ancient cultures all over the world. I found only a small handful of isolated scraps that could be twisted to support Robothamism, and otherwise a landslide against it. You can see how this preys on common ignorance of history.
I'll be honest with you. I've never heard of a model of our ancestors saying that the sun physically went below the sea level. I've never actually heard that.
This is the first time I've ever heard anybody ever suggest that any ancient culture that the sun went under the earth.
This form of flat earth belief is really not ancient at all, but that one false equivalence is often the key to the entire argument. It allows them to take their novel Robothamist view and rebrand it as biblical cosmology. With religious people, they can now funnel the conversation into territory where their script is well rehearsed and where they have the illusion of fairness and virtue.
I thought we were going to have a biblical cosmology debate because we're both Christians. I'm the only one that brought up scriptures.
If the argument proceeds on these terms, then they basically end up with a counterfeit endorsement from God himself.
The Hebrew cosmology's been around since Moses. God spoke directly to Moses.
No matter what your beliefs are, I hope at this point you can see how incredibly dangerous this is. There are many disagreements between Christians that stay fairly peaceful, because if both parties are being genuine, then it's easy to see how diversity of interpretation plays a role. But when a flat earther refuses to separate their view from scripture, they end up exalting themselves to the level of God.
You either have to accept that's what God's made the earth to be, a flat enclosed domed earth, or you have to say, nah, I believe man over God and call God a liar.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg. The worst kinds of lies are the ones that mimic truth so that you can't tell the difference. They match and mirror and project and imitate, all to equalize or reverse your judgment of a situation. Truth tries to draw contrast, but next to mimicry, this is useless unless you look deeper than the surface.
It just means you're being dishonest. This is dishonesty. Just saying, nah, hand wave, dismissing it. Peter, by the way, I have nothing against you. I do like you. Keep up what you're doing, man.
Knowing that territory dictates the battle, I confronted Flatzoid on his false divinity claim.
You're not getting your cosmology from the Bible. That's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling everyone. Your cosmology is not in the Bible.
He did not like this at all, and would not budge an inch. Deep down, he also knew that if he acknowledged a single word of it, his battle was lost. But it also put him so far off script that all he could do was roll it like a crocodile.
I am not a Robothian. He is strawmanning me by telling me I'm a Robothamist. Could you please stop calling me a Robothamist? Keep on pushing me with Robothanism. I don't care about Robotham. I've never claimed him. In fact, I've said I don't. I don't care about Robotham. I'm not a Robothamist.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the worst response that Flatzoid could have had. He could have said, I understand the distinction you're making. I don't think it's important, and here's why. He could have said, I understand your logic, you're wrong in your premise about what ancient people thought, and here's evidence. If he cared about truth, he would have spent at least one solitary second considering my argument. Or if he really wanted to stick his head in the sand, he could have done the decent thing and done that in private, instead of continuing to spread lies on a public platform calling robothemism biblical. But no, he doubled down again and again and again and again, all the while accusing and deflecting and on his own channel keeping business as usual. He knew that I had found a weakness, and he is right now, to this very moment, refusing to acknowledge it. And then he had the gall to say this.
Are there any other subjects you'd like to debate in the future?
Well, I'm a young Earth creationist, but I don't know that I'd be willing to debate that.
I mean, I'll be happy to team up with you on Young Earth Creationist, so.
I don't want to team up with you on young Earth creationism. You are an embarrassment to Christians.
Wow.
Ooh, coming in with a hard...
Wow. I was supposed to say something nice about him now.
No.
Flatzoid,
Oh,
I really don't mean that in an insulting way. I know it's insulting.
It's not insulting.
I'm sorry. It's just I have to be honest. You are an embarrassment to Christians. I'm not trying to be mean when I say that.
Well, I'm the only one bringing scripture up. Okay, that's fine.
You're abusing scripture.
All right.
After the debate, that same evening, I pondered deeply whether I should feel remorse at calling Flatzoid an embarrassment to Christians. Was that attitude of mine pleasing to Christ? Was I loving my enemies as Christ taught? And each time I pondered that, the answer seemed to be the same. No, I should not feel remorse. Yes, I was pleasing Christ. In fact, me saying that to Flatzoid was a much-needed reality check. And after chatting with him a little more, I now think it wasn't enough. Flatzoid, I think you misunderstand something about me. I am not a young Earth creationist just so I can be a young Earth creationist. I am a young Earth creationist because I love truth. And it just so happens that I'm convinced that young Earth creationism is true. I realize that there are certain weaknesses to that position, such as radiometric dating. I listen and study a lot more than I speak on Darwinism. I recognize that I don't have the leverage or authority to convince others on this. And most importantly, I accept obscurity as the consequence of minority, because I'm not willing to compromise my love of truth just to win an argument. And you dare to think that you and I have something in common on this? That you and I could join forces in cooperation on anything? No. You are in a cult. I am not. And I know that debates are a game for entertainment. But what's not a game to me is the Bible. There are certain things that are sacred, and if you step on them, there are consequences. Flatzoid, I warned you over and over and over, and you didn't listen, so now I am warning others about you, and any other robothemist preachers like you who claim false authority in the Bible.